I'm Len May, and I'm the CEO, co-founder of Endocanna Health. We're an endocannabinoid genomics company, and I have the distinct pleasure of having Dr. Chris Spooner join me, who's a naturopathic specialist, and we're going to discuss this topic and many others. Tune in. Thanks.
I'm drawing some parallels to COVID, this corona strain with H1B1, SARS, things that we've already seen in the past since they're, an influenza susceptibility family association. There's been studies on certain genotypes on, if I remember correctly, TNFA, IFTIM. These are different, SNPs that have an association, as you were mentioning, Chris, with different groups of people and different genotypes that have a greater predisposition to these types of viruses.
Sure.
Would you think that? And I know we're in the middle of this firefight, but is it important to know what your genetic predisposition is right now to those types of viruses, so you can draw some sort of parallel, even though we don't know right now if that's the fact or not, but there could be some similarities between those viruses I mentioned and COVID-19. Is it important for you to start looking at into your genotypes to see if you have to take, special precautions if you are in an at-risk group?
Yeah, and this is where medicine's kind of moving. My practice is kind of looking at personalized medicine. So we're taking these genotypes, and running those through the various different algorithms so that we can start to say, hey, here's things like specific nutrient deficiencies that you might, need to address to help your immune system function better. Zinc, for example, is a really important function. It looks like zinc's got a role to play in preventing the virus from copying itself. So is there something to take a look at, are there zinc transporter genetic variants? When you mention things like some of those little things that control inflammation, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukins, interferon, that sort of thing. Again, super, super useful for inflammatory conditions and other different types of autoimmune illnesses and this type of thing. In COVID, per se, those cytokines actually aren't the ones that are involved with it. So we're probably going to get less of a response or less of some information on that. And in fact, if we did see something, it might actually be say like, okay, look, your inflammatory process is kind of dampened down or because of these genetics. And in which case it's like, okay, well, we might have a better understanding how it unfolds. But in the, right now, that's not going to be that terribly helpful. So like I said, it starts to get complicated around, which part of the immune system is involved. We do know SARS, as you mentioned there. SARS also seems to use the exact same mechanism as COVID, right? So it's also using the same type of receptor. It's suspected that this ACE receptor is involved in there somehow, but again, there's a host of other things that start to factor in, and that's not the only thing of it. The inflammation in the lining of the lungs, and mucosal barrier and that. So I think at the end of the day, the take home message here is that, like, look, understanding, your unique quirks and your genetic variation becomes really helpful in your overall healthcare in general. In the acute situation like this is right now, it may have more of an implication in things like what medications may work for you, what medications may cause adverse reactions or things like that. But fighting the virus itself right now, we have some very limited therapies as it is. So it's not like we've got a huge choice to select from. It's basically like give lots of corticosteroids. Let's try and keep the inflammation down, try and keep the fluid out of the lungs, and that's going to be the intervention that's going to happen in the ICU or something like that, right? So, yeah.
Hey everyone, I hope you found this information super, super helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe below right here and stay tuned for all the latest and greatest from Endocanna and what we have to say about the endocannabinoid system and DNA. Because remember, cannabis is personal. Stay healthy, stay well. Thank you.